The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning.
Welcome to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast, where prepping doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. Coming to you from a well-defended off-grid compound high in the mountains. Coming to you from his Florida room in Richmond, Virginia. Neither off-grid nor well-defended, unless you count as chickens and cats. Here is your host, Keith.
Hey everybody, this is Keith with the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast, June 29th, 2025. Well, a couple housekeeping things. Just as I suspected, gas here in the Richmond, Virginia area jumped between 31 and 37 cents a gallon, give or take, a few days after the Israeli airstrikes on Iran. And then when we dropped our bombs, that just kind of reinforced that, but it pretty much stayed the same after that. Now, Sheetz that opened down the street, they had, I guess, some sort of promo. Their gas was, I believe, $2.69 a gallon, but last week they stopped that promo. Now they're at $3, which is about between 20 and 25 cents less expensive than some of the gas stations down the street. So obviously, I'm going to Sheetz. Well, the weather here in Central Virginia, as in most of the United States, is still very hot. At least we're not up near 100. We're at 92 and 93. The humidity is still there, but certainly not as much as it was for the last couple weeks. But 93 degrees is really, really warm. And of course, the chickens are having a little bit of heat stress, but spoke about that last podcast. So keeping them squared away as best I can. All right. What I want to talk about is, let's talk about this first. So I want to talk about bunkers and sorts of shelters. Atlas Survival Shelters is located in Texas. They have several warehouses. They've expanded into the EU. They're not a sponsor of this podcast. I really don't have any sponsors, but I follow them on YouTube and I've looked just out of curiosity. I certainly do not have the discretionary income to get any type of shelter, be it a small, 5 or 6 person tornado shelter, either above ground, below ground. And obviously, nor do I have the money sitting around to get one of those huge, enormous shelters that are actually buried in your backyard. Now, one thing I always wonder, and they have YouTube videos, and they're very careful about showing where they're placing these shelters. Now, when I mean where physically in the United States or wherever in the world they happen to be filming that particular video. Now, some of them have actually, they do some wide shots and you can see a barn, some sort of outbuildings, maybe neighbors in the background, a street. And I don't know how safe that is, because if you think about it, as far as OPSEC or operational security, you have to be very careful about disclosing what you have and where you have it in the event SHTF situation or a grid down, extended grid down situation, disruption in the supply chain, because then everybody's going to come to your place. Hey, doesn't that guy have a bunker? And I wonder about the non-disclosure, the NDAs that the contractors must sign, because it's not just 1 or 2 people putting these things in the ground. You have to get a crane. Now, the crane comes from a local crane company. So you got the crane guy. So he knows what he's putting in the ground. Some of these things are enormous. It just kind of worries me. Again, not that I have one, but how secure are these locations? The crane guy knows if the poop hits the fan, hey, I know where there's a bunker. Now, again, these bunkers are very secure, but they have ventilation pipes. Many are connected to homes. Some are not. Some are on the property. But I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. So I'm sure that the company, the survivor shelter company, they have NDAs that they sign with their contractors that come out, the people that actually work for the company. But it's the subcontractors that have to come out. And then the permits. I'm pretty sure when you're digging large holes like this in the ground, and you have to run water, electricity if you need it, or you can do solar. You can be completely self-contained, don't get me wrong. But I'm pretty sure your Miss Utility's got to come out and mark any sort of utility lines, electrical, water, gas, sewer, anything like that, that digging a 15 or 20-foot hole in your backyard or on your property, you're going to make sure you're not tearing something up. So I don't know, unless it just makes me a little bit nervous, obviously, for those people, because I can just imagine you get a permit and something happens, the people from the permitting office that work for the city or the county, hey, what about that guy or gal who had that big bunker they put in the ground over there off of Main Street? That thing had to cost at least $100,000 or $200,000, $300,000. I bet you they've got all sorts of stuff there. Well, guess where they're coming? So just a little something I think about. Again, not that it affects me. So when we talk about prepping as being the great equalizer, and I'll tie this into some of the shelter things I just spoke about. If you are prepared, and it doesn't make any difference how well you are prepared, it's the great equalizer. So Jeff Zuckerberg, apparently, I've seen articles, he's building this big bunker on some island somewhere, and there's satellite photos. Who knows? It could be just a complete hoax, just to be just a bunch of clickbait. But if you think about it, let's take Zuckerberg. So he's a multi-bajillionaire, and friends in his family, they're going to go to this bunker in the event a situation occurs that they need to go to the bunker. It doesn't make any difference at that point at an SHTF situation how much money he has. You are just as prepared in many ways, in a sense, as he is. You have your food, you have your water, you have your shelter, you have your bug out bags, you have whatever plan you've put together. And let's say he does as well. He's probably employed some third-party contractor to come in and explain all this stuff, all the things that need to happen. When it all comes down to it, you are just as prepared as the tech billionaires out there. Things go completely south, you're in a position to provide for yourself food, water, shelter, safety for you, your family, your group, whomever, and so is he. It makes no difference that he has more money than Oprah, because when it comes down to it, and there's a serious degradation of society, that money is not going to do him any good. In a situation where there's extreme inflation and a loaf of bread costs you $250,000, it's all relative. Prepping does not have to be complicated. It does not have to be expensive. And it's the great equalizer. If you are prepared, and you don't have to be rich, if you are more prepared than the guy or gal down the street that has $500,000 sitting in the bank, when push comes to shove, you are more prepared than they are. Just something to think about. It doesn't make any difference how wealthy somebody is. If it really goes south, all that matters is that you are prepared. And as always, be safe out there, take care of one another, and until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review.